Hi everyone, happy spooky October. So I decided to share a reading with everyone. I did a reading event on Friday night at Quiet City Books in Lewiston, Maine with the Horror Writers of Maine. And there were many people who wanted to come to the reading who, for various reasons, were unable to attend the event. So I decided to share my reading on here for whoever wants to check it out. So I'm going to be reading from my story titled Doom Saloon. It was published in this post-apocalyptic anthology titled After the Burn, where every contributing author wrote a tale that takes place in the same shared universe in Barning, Vermont. So I'm going to read from my story. Like I said, it's titled Doom Saloon. But since I'm not starting from page one, I'm going to catch you up to speed a little bit. So we're in the Silverblade Saloon just after closing. Lucy, the owner, and her bouncer buddy Zeppy just vanquished a demon creature that snuck through the tunnels under the bar. She comes back up to find the two town drunks, Dave and Jerry, still sitting at the bar, and her second bouncer buddy Zeke is nowhere to be found. She manages to get the drunks out with slight intimidation with her fancy knife tricks. Then her and Zeke have a run-in with a baby raccoon that they first think might be another demon. Zeke tells Lucy that maybe she should consider sealing up those tunnels, but Lucy refuses. So here we go. This is Doom Saloon, and I'm starting in a flashback, just so you know. Ever since the collapse, following the freakish solar flares that flipped the old ways of the world into chaos and darkness, Lucy's held out hope to find someone from her family who may have survived. Numerous explosions and wildfires decimated much of the land in the early aftermath of the flares. Next came the raiding murder mobs that swept across the country, which led to more fires, just because they could. The smell of burning flesh still haunts Lucy's wakeful nightmares. Maybe her family hid away in time and survived, like her and Double Z. Maybe in the wine cellar, or the tunnels under the bar. It's been 20 long years. Before then, Lucy fled every request her mama and Nona had thrown her way for her to bring her green thumb back to Vermont to work the family business alongside them. Vaca's Vineyards was quite the rave back in the day. Wine tasting events for Sunday brunch at the bar always packed the place. In addition to Vaca's highly sought-after wines, whiskey was also a favorite among patrons, though Lucy never knew where the supply came from. Somehow, the barrel in the wine cellar always remained full, like Nona's always fully stocked cookie jar when Lucy was a little girl. Anytime Lucy asked about that whiskey barrel, her mother would just brush Lucy's long hair out of her face, tuck it behind her ear, and say, "Don't you worry your pretty little head about that, Lucy Lou. Mama and Nona, we have our ways." Investing her future in the family business was not for free-strutting Lucy back then. She took her college education and her green thumb a little further east to forge her own path, free from family judgment and squabbles among siblings and cousins and aunts and uncles and everyone, where the loudest person was always deemed the one who knew best, the one whose advice you should follow, no questions asked. Lucy always questions. "Where were you hiding earlier?" Lucy grabs the cleaning cloth off the bar, tosses it back into the bucket of soapy water, suds slop over the edge. "You obviously weren't helping to get the drunks out of here while Zeppy and I had a run-in with an early arrival from the tunnels." Zeke tucks his gun back into the waist of his jeans and pulls Lucy's blade out of the support beam beside his head. "Shit, Luce, another one showed up early? I had no idea." He shakes his head. "Man, this shit's happening a lot more lately." He walks up to the bar and sets the silver blade in front of her. "I was just calming myself down with a little toke on the porch before coming back in here to deal with those two drunks, the broken record that they are. Always the same with those two. I'm really starting to lose my patience with them." "Yeah, well, we might have to get used to these early arrivals. And we might also want to think about rolling back on last call again. Go back to the old school 1 a.m. deal. Hopefully that'll help get those drunks out of here at a safer time." "Damn, trying to make my job even tougher, huh? Dave and Jerry would just put up an even bigger protest with that." "Yeah, well, they can go fuck themselves. Those drunks have no idea how many times we've saved their asses from the hellspawns that roll through this place. Shit, we saved this whole freaking town from complete demonic destruction. Not one soul has been lost thanks to us." She huffs. mumbles to herself. If they only knew. Not yet, anyway. I don't want to hear it again, Z. The tunnels are not getting sealed off. If anyone in my family survived the flares and the aftermath that followed, those tunnels are what saved them. Luce, think about it. With all those demons and creatures coming through the tunnels, if anyone in your family did escape through there, what are the chances they survived run-ins with evil like that? A crooked, sly smile appears on Lucy's face as she grabs her silver blade off the bar. A question like that just shows you know nothing about my family. She steps out from behind the bar, reclips the dagger to her belt, and motions with a head nod toward the back room. Let's go see how Zeppy's doing. The hush-hush talk around Old Barning about the Vacas and their witchy ways was never quite as quiet as the Gabbers may have thought. The gossip plagued young Lucy. Bullies and their antics toughened her up, but at the same time, nastiness from the naysayers also softened her in a way. All her traumatic experiences created a humanitarian with a hidden dark side. She also honed some badass fighting skills, just in case. Hence her ability with throwing knives. She had no way of knowing back then, but those bullies helped prepare her for the New World's tormentors, the Raiders and the Demons. Part of her feels thankful. The ironic part, every time her family put on a solstice or equinox bonfire celebration, every bully in town had family members there, and you can bet your ass not one person ever questioned where the whiskey came from. No whiskey deliveries, no vodka accounts with any local liquor stores, no traveling for purchasing liquor elsewhere. Patrons just always expected whiskey as a constant, always stocked. No one questioned, no one complained. Most everyone imbibed. And those tunnels? Lucy was never allowed in the wine cellar alone, not even as a young adult home during vacations from Bennington College. Yes, she knew about the tunnels. A makeshift wooden wall was propped up in front of the one large opening back then. Her family told her the tunnels led to the old mines to the south and the west that were dangerous and off limits. Lucy always accepted that as truth. The one thing Lucy never questioned. She just never saw a reason for questioning it. Until now. Flickering flames of candlelight dance around the wine cellar as the thud of Lucy's boots clomp down the stairs. The closer she gets to the bottom, the faster her heartbeat revs up, wondering if anything else has snuck in yet. Her eyes dart all around the large space, searching for any unwanted visitors. At the far end of the cellar, to her right, stands the tunnel opening. Though she looks there first, she knows evil doesn't always make a grand entrance. Evil likes to fly under the radar, hide where you'll least expect to find it. She scans everywhere. To her left sits the stock area. A wooden wine rack filled with bottled wine from the replenished Vacas vineyards stretches across one wall. All the dark bottles lying on their sides still wear the old Vacas vineyards label, all worn and discolored from age. Though there's no need for labels on the liquor in a one-bar, one-vineyard, walled-in town of only 300 people, Lucy insists on keeping them, no matter how tattered they get. Lucy may have a way about her that can frighten a grown man to tears and cause them to fall off bar stools and flee with his tail between his legs, but there's a hidden soft spot tucked away deep down inside her when it comes to those she cares about. Zeke and Zeppy have known this side of her since before the flares hit. Since back in Maine, when they worked for Lucy at her weed lounge and caregiver compound from the very first week she started the business. Double Z. She's closer to those two than she'd ever been with any of her own blood. Protecting her double Z is even more important to her than protecting the whole damn town. Her keen eyes keep scanning the cellar for potential creepers. Mounted to the floor, dead center between the wine rack and the opposite wall, sits that one mysterious oak whiskey barrel. No matter how many bottles get filled from that barrel, somehow it's always full again when the need arises to fill more bottles. And no matter how tense she feels coming down here near the Devil's Hour, seeing that barrel always makes Lucy smile. Nonna's cookie jar also pops to mind. Mama Nonna, we have our ways. The wall on the other side of the barrel has top to bottom built-in shelves lined with mason jars, many filled with weed and some with tinctures and others with various herb combinations. Affixed from one side of the room to the other, stretched out from the wine rack to the weed shelves, hang 5 strings. The crew hangs branches of marijuana plants here to dry before trimming and jarring the buds. Face painted with surprise, Lucy notices all the bud-filled branches from earlier now lie stripped in a pile on the floor. And there's Zeppy, humming power to move you while he works, down here pulling double duty, stocking shelves and guarding tunnels, his workhorse way. Damn, you sure know how to make the most of your time. Stepping over to him, she checks out all the freshly filled jars lining the shelves. I sure hope nothing snuck in here while you were multitasking. Zeppy turns around, looks down at her and gives her a slight elbow shove. Nothing sneaks past me, Miss Hard-Ass. He winks, shrugs, looks back at the shelves. Gotta keep busy so I don't nod off. Can't have that happening when I know your internal demon radar has been going off like mad. She rubs her temples with her fingertips. Yeah, this ringing in my ears and throbbing in my head has picked up since that early arrival we vanquished. Something else is on its way. I just wish I knew what. She shakes off the discomfort, reaches out and grabs another mason jar off one of the shelves. So I imagine you've already taken care of the wine section if you're jarring up the buds now. Got that done earlier tonight. Just forgot to mention it. Man, I can always count on you to help keep this ship afloat. Zeppy's contagious smile spreads wide amidst his black forest of a beard. I'm not the only one busting my ass around here, Lucifer. He winks. When the demons began appearing, he started calling her Queen of the Underworld, adding the discovery of the whiskey barrels somehow refilling itself, and then Lucy's nickname changed to Lucifer. Makes sense to her. She was the one in her family who didn't follow the rules, the one misunderstood and cast out. Sort of. As tense as things get around here during this time of night, it doesn't stop that warm feeling that washes over her every time she hears Zeppy call her by her nickname. She met a couple of good eggs back on her own in Maine. From behind Lucy, Zeke's footfalls thud down the stairs. Just as he reaches the bottom step, Lucy turns and tosses him a mason jar filled with an ounce of fresh weed. Don't forget your pay from last harvest. You might want to bring that upstairs for safekeeping before the creepers come skulking through. She nods toward the far end of the cellar, where the tunnel entrance hangs open like the mouth of a hungry beast, ready to devour. Dude, mind bringing mine upstairs too? Towering over Lucy as though she's a child, Zeppy leans over, holds out another weed-filled jar. Just finished jarring up the final buds. Less work tomorrow. He cocks an eyebrow. You're welcome, Stony. Ha ha, thanks, man. I don't care what anyone says. You the best. Zeke smirks, pops out his hand for a fist bump, then grabs the other mason jar. Zeppy's long dreads sway like a beaded curtain as he motions with a head nod toward the dark, gaping hole at the other side of the cellar. No prob, but hurry back. Don't go getting distracted up there. We need to be ready. Stick together. You got it. Zeke hightails it up the stairs, skipping steps like a jumping jackrabbit. Everyone around here knows weed doesn't slow this guy down. It's just what he needs to mellow his anxiety enough to stay in this fucked up game of survival. Scouting around the cellar, looking behind boxes and under extra chairs and tables, Lucy wonders how much longer they can keep the creatures from getting to the folks in town. When Zeppy was lugging stock up from downstairs earlier tonight, he spotted a creeper hiding behind the open cellar door. No idea what it was. Without Zeppy's calm demeanor, the salt circle trap never would have gotten set up without it noticing. But that's Zeppy, the most chill of the bunch, even without weed. Add in a silver blade slice and dice and that creeper's sorry-ass story ended before he could make it out the back door. What if Zeppy hadn't spotted it hiding? What if it had made it outside? The townsfolk out there sleeping nice and cozy, unsuspecting, like a gourmet buffet spread out for these soulless fuckers that sneak out from the dark recesses of the underground. Yeah, Lucy supposes closing the bar earlier might help, but rolling back on last call again is sure to push people to ask questions, especially Dave and Jerry. She can't get Zeke's voice out of her head. Don't you think it's time to seal up those tunnels, Luce? Seal up those tunnels? Every time she seriously considers closing off that tunnel entrance, an unbearable ache squeezes her chest. A loud bang crash sounds from upstairs. Zeke! Thuds, scuffling, knife in hand before she has time to blink. Lucy hightails it up the stairs, tells Zeppy, stay back and watch the tunnels. Whatever's up there could just be a distraction. Zeppy's words sound out from behind her. Yeah, but what if? I'll yell if we need you. A quick glance over her shoulder. Zeppy pulls his foot back off the bottom step. First thing she sees when she steps out of that stairwell, the barn-style doors in the back room flung open to the night. A strong wind howls, whips one door against the building. Bang! Crash! The same sound that signaled trouble. A narrow beam of moonlight creeps across the floor. Two mangled mounds lie in the silvery glow. Pools of blood, tubes of intestines snaking around the bodies like a chaotic infinity knot. She rushes over. Her blade arrives first, swinging around, pointing this way and that, making sure whatever caused this isn't ready to pounce and rearrange her like the mounds on the floor. Whoever or whatever they are, or were, she hasn't had a chance to make that determination. Two gunshots blast tear through the air. The deafening sound rips at her eardrums. Sounds close, from outside. Where the fuck is Zeke? With the hopes it was his gun she'd just heard, a fear of human raiders slowly creeps over her. Memories from their treacherous journey from Maine to Barning flash across her mind. A quick glance at the mounds beside her feet, then immediately back outside, ready and waiting for whatever comes next. That's all for now. Stay creepy, everyone. Happy October.